Hey, hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Nous Infosystems welcomes you all to this webinar on leveraging reporting as a service to improve agility and reduce unit cost. So the presenters for today's webinar will be my colleague Srikanth Bhaskar. He is a BI consultant at Nous Infosystems, and myself Ranjit Shankar. I work as a client solutions manager at Nous. So just to establish a few ground rules for the webinar, we will be taking questions from the audience at the end of the webinar. We request the audience to type your questions into the question panel of GoToWebinar. Audience will be kept on mute during the webinar, and the webinar recording and the deck will be shared after the webinar. And now to take you through the rest of the webinar, I am handing it over to my colleague Srikanth Bhaskar. Srikanth, over to you.
Thanks, Ranjit. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar on reporting as a service. So today we'll go through our experience of setting up reporting as a service in many of the clients and what's the best practices. So we'll start off talking about the common reporting challenges that we've encountered or we've discovered during the many due diligences or the many discussions that we've had with the clients. What are the solutions to that? So one of them is a reporting factory. What are the benefits of it? How does it function? How is in Nous's experience, how normally a reporting factory is set up? What are the processes that we've used to set up? What are the governance framework that we've implemented? What are the KPIs that we've tracked in most of our implementations, and how has it helped us? The Nous's BI Factory Accelerator, how different are we, and how differently we are able to implement a reporting factory. And finally, we'll take some questions from the audience. So some common reporting challenges that we've all encountered during our day-to-day work of running a reporting setup or reporting teams is some large development cycles and unpredictably large development cycles. Sometimes we're not able to give some consistent timelines for our deliveries because each and every time the report that has come in is totally different. We're not able to estimate it properly, or sometimes we fail in our estimation deliveries. It's partly got to do with a lot of changes that we do using the data models that continuously evolve with the amount of data that's actually flowing into each one of our institutions or companies. The refactoring capabilities become very complex and very large. The documentation is mostly dated. We're not able to keep up to date the documentation of the reports, which reduces the audit capability of the code that is developed and deployed. Many times we've got to prove to regulators, to clients, to a lot of stakeholders the requirements that we considered for developing the reports, what kind of controls we put in, what kind of filters we put in, how are we making sure the data quality is good, and how are we making sure the report quality is good, etc. And as it happens in many of the organizations, each and every business unit has its own reporting teams. So what it ends up with is different processes across organizations, across business units, which invariably is because of the different tools that we use across the business unit. So some teams use Click, some teams use Tableau, some teams use Power BI, sometimes some teams probably use BO depending on their budgets, etc. This makes the overall the unit cost, if you want to call it, of the reports quite expensive. And what it actually leads to is non-existence or very little reusable components that will help us in the long run, especially our ability to scale up quickly. Scaling up is one part of the story, and scaling up quickly is the need of the hour. Many times, given the urgency that we have on some new regulatory requirements, new regulatory reports, and how soon we can use our existing capabilities to make sure that we're able to deliver it in a bigger volume if there's any client requirements, etc. So these are, some common challenges that we've, discovered during our due diligences with a lot of customers, and also, discussing a lot of reporting setup with a lot of our customers. So one of the solutions, that we've identified, implemented in quite a few of our clients is reporting as a service. So reporting as a service basically is, a step higher than a reporting factory. You're having a lot of data from the reporting factory and the environment where the reporting factory is basically being driven to make sure that the whole reporting requirements per se is being delivered with some data, and we're taking some good decisions based on data, thereby making the whole reporting organization more effective because of the amount of information that comes in and it's processed, analyzed, etc. And most of the cases, what happens is reporting a service helps us, to drive down the unit cost of the reports at the end of the day. So we spoke about reporting factory, reporting factory, reporting as a service. So reporting factory is the basis of the whole, the reporting service. So for the reporting factory, we start off with developing a standardized development framework, one that suits the organization's current maturity levels, current processes, and we build it into the DNA of the whole reporting system or the reporting organization, making it, repeatable. And this is specifically, made possible because of the specialized resources, specialized teams that we are able to set up who are performing specialized functions. And what it allows the teams to do is it empowers them to build and maintain reusable components, given that they know what kind of reports reporting requirements are coming in, and what kind of reports have been built, what are the normal criteria for quality, etc. So a lot of parameters that the teams use to identify reusable components and keep track of them, build on it, and continue to use it over a period of time. So this is what we call as the knowledge base. One part of the knowledge base, the reusable components. The other part is the processes, the documentation that the teams are able to build, and self-organizing. One of the main value adds of any agile team. So the team is self-motivated, self-organizing, building knowledge base around the whole delivery. And at the end of the day, one thing that we all agree, when we get there is the whole reporting organization being more agile and being more cost-effective. So like any other factory model, be the development factory, the testing factory, the reporting factory also, the whole process kicks off with the requirements gathering, goes through design, the development phase, validation, user acceptance, release and deployment using standard ITIL, change management, release management procedures. Continuing the benefits, we're emphasizing the benefits of the reporting factory as well as the reporting service, because the amount of value add it adds to the whole reporting organization is humongous. So the specialized teams, we spoke about it, the processes, the reusable repository, the cycle times, when we've measured them, month on month, quarter on quarter, year on year, it reduces the cycle times big time, especially the reusable repositories that in our experience that the teams have built. The quality of the reports has increased because of the reusability that's built into the DNA of the whole reporting organization. The reports themselves, the process of building the reports is well documented. It's more auditable. It's more comprehensive. Many times when we've got to go to the auditors, the regulators, etc., it's more comprehensive. Reducing costs, I think we'll talk about it right through the webinar, because this is one of the biggest value adds that we get as an organization, being in most of the cases a cost center, and costs are where we try to see for optimization. So factory reporting service, one of the biggest value adds. I'll continue to talk about it right through the webinar, reducing costs and scalable assemblies. We identify the throughput of the assemblies. We are able to measure them. We're able to forecast with the amount of volume that's coming in, how soon we can scale up, what are the timelines we need to scale up. And eventually, in the new age, the faster go-to-market advantage is very, very crucial. And the reporting factory reporting service makes sure that we're able to get that advantage, because most of the times the business needs to take a very educated decision, and the reports that is being built by the reporting organization, given the amount of data that's coming in, the social media, the historical data of the whole organization, a lot of things that's used in reporting nowadays to identify the niche areas, etc. And the go-to-market advantage is one of the biggest value adds of reporting factory as well. So how does reporting factory function? We spoke about starting off with a request, request for a report. It goes through requirements gathering, and then it's prioritized and approved. So here we're making sure we're having enough controls to make sure that the teams are concentrating on the reports or on the work that is the most important for the organization as of now. And once it's handed over to the reporting factory, the design assembly takes over the requirements document, churns out the functional specifications, churns out the data model changes or updations or new data model requests, identifies the reusable components, and identifies the standard templates or the standard guidelines for building the type of report that is being requested for, and hands over all this package to the development assembly, wherein the development assembly takes all these inputs and delivers a reporting file along with very early performance testing report as well. And that's one of the lessons that we've learned over a period of time, that having the performance testing performed at a very early stage helps us to make sure we are ironing out a lot of our data model issues or refactoring issues. And once the development team delivers the code to QA, the QA team, the validation assembly. So the validation assembly here, we broadly call it the validation assembly, but it has both the QA validation as well as the user validation. So the QA validation is mostly driven by the IT themselves, perform functional testing, performing regression testing, performing functional testing, and once the data quality is all approved by the QA, the report then goes on to what we call as the user acceptance testing, where the users review the output of the reports, the quality of the data, which is more relevant at that level of testing, and certifies the reports to be deployed to production. In most of the factories that we've set up, we've normally followed an onshore-offshore model, not necessarily always, but this has been the case in most of the implementations. Factory director is one crucial or the central role for the whole functioning of the factory. He's really the driver of the the full factory, making sure that the work is happening. It's being the prioritized work is being delivered at the timelines that have been promised to the users. It's of a good quality. He's also the torchbearer of the overall vision of the factory, measuring the KPIs. And here, what we're trying. One of the most important things that we're trying to mention here is he's one single point of contact, and who's talking to the business users, who's coordinating with the business analysts to make sure that good level of requirements are being captured for that particular report requirement, passed on to the design assembly, development assembly, validation assembly for development of the report, and finally he is also in charge of the release train of the reporting factory as well, wherein he is monitoring the items currently in the release train, prioritizing the items in the release train, and making sure it's being implemented to production well ahead of time in most of the cases, so that the users are able to iron out any other issues that may happen, practically in a lot of situations in production. So development methodology. When we started off implementing reporting factories, initially we started off with waterfall, and eventually what we learned over a period of time is it's more easier to be delivered, tracked, monitored using an agile methodology, and trying different methodologies over a period of time. The methodology that we've ironed out and that's proven over the past 3-4 years over multiple implementations is Scrumban, a combination of Scrum as well as Kanban. Gives us the flexibility of both Scrum methodology as well as the advantages of Kanban. Here we're trying to mention here that each of those vertical swim lanes are essentially specialized teams. So we have the functional specification team, the technical specification team, the development team, QA testing team, user acceptance testing team, the release management and deployment team, and finally the production support team. So the vertical swim lanes, as I just mentioned, is specialized teams, and the horizontal swim lanes are the statuses of the request. So a request flows through a vertical swim lane, and when it has to move from one swim lane to the other swim lane, we use what normally we do in an agile environment, a done criteria, or a checklist in PMI terms. So we track a done criteria on what are the artifacts that had to be turned out for that particular report in that particular swim lane or by that particular specialized team. What was the acceptance criteria of each of those artifacts? It had to be signed off, example, or a certain level of performance testing had to be done as part of the development, etc., etc. So the done criteria is identified at two levels. One is at a standardized process level. We identify what kind of artifacts need to be developed and what kind of actions need to be performed before it's considered done. And the second level is at a report level. We also identify at that report level what are the additional checks that need to be done before it's actually marked as done and moved to the next swim lane. So here is one of the examples from the implementations we had recently for a client. So here we have the functional specification assembly. So we'll start off with the new request. So when the new request comes in, we have the business users filling in some initial information of the report reporting requirements, and we call it as the draft FRS. And then the functional specification team basically picks this up, goes through the whole requirements with the business users, a couple of iterations possibly, and then churns out the functional specification baseline documents. And once the functional specification is ready, the technical specification team uses it as an input, churns out the high-level design documents, the test planning, and data model. So test planning is one artifact that over a period of time that we've learned and identified adds a lot of value being built at the technical specification level by the design assembly guys, because the design team has a bigger view of the reports and are able to identify what kind of testing needs to be performed to make sure that the report is of good quality. Once the technical specification artifacts are delivered, the development team picks it up. One of the biggest artifacts of the whole cycle is the report file itself, along with the low-level design documents and unit test cases documents. And the unit test cases documents normally also have some initial performance testing results as well. That helps us to measure the quality of the data model that is being used or updated or whatever it is, and the quality of the report as well. The QA testing team then takes over the report file that has been deployed in a stage environment. QA environment, stage environment performs the various types of testing, functional, performance, loads, regression for any enhancements or fixes, and delivers the QA test cases documents. The users in some cases it's been an extended user team who are specialized business analysts, not the system analysts, but mostly the business analysts working very closely with the business users themselves, or in some cases also the users themselves performing the user testing. So they review the comprehensiveness of the report, the usability of the report in terms of the business, the aesthetics of it in case it's a client-facing report, or in the format of it in case it's a regulatory report, if it's a XML extract or whatever it is. There's a test system where the users run through the report to make sure it's all adhering to the requirements of the end delivery. And once it's signed off by the users or the UAT team, it's put on the release train. So the release train is monitored again by the factory director, and he has inputs on the priorities of the items in the release train. And we normally follow standard ITIL methodology for change management and release management, deployment management. And it goes through change requests, change approval board meetings, and in case it's the impact is across geographies or across business units, normally there is an organizational change approval board meeting. It's approved. The necessary proof is all provided for the tab. It's all approved, and then once it's approved, the deployment of that particular reporting file is scheduled and the deployment is performed. And once the deployment is performed, it moves into what we call as a maintenance mode. So as part of this particular life cycle, we track it in the completed requests. So there's a warranty period where the development team is monitoring the usage of the report, and in case there is any major issues or something that's anomalies that may have been found in production because of some production environments, it happens. So these things are all fixed on a priority basis, and finally, as part of this life cycle, the report is tracked as the report requirement is tracked as end, but it enters into what we call as a maintenance mode, and it's monitored. We have controls many times. A set of reports, if it's got to do with a particular business unit, you build in certain controls for that particular business unit at a certain point of time, depending on the schedule of the reports that have been put out for that particular business unit, thereby making sure we are being able to deliver good quality reports that the business users eventually are able to use to make their decisions. So we spoke about process, and one of the other pillars of the reporting factory or the reporting service is the governance framework. Nous and its implementations has had about minimum 3 governance meetings and a maximum 4. In some cases, like what has been depicted here, we have combined both the management and the operations meeting into one meeting, weekly or fortnightly, depending on the the scale of the current team, the volume of reports that is being churned out, etc. So when the volume increases or when the team size increases, we've normally gone to 2 separate meetings, a management meeting which is more on a day-to-day level, and an operations meeting which is mostly fortnightly, tracking different things. So here in this scenario, management and operations committee meeting on a weekly or a fortnightly basis, led by the factory manager in coordination with the different assembly leads, tracking the day-to-day requests, identifying any issues, measuring and monitoring the SLAs and KPIs, tracking the issues that may have been arised from production, from the recently deployed reports, prioritization of the new report requirements into different assemblies, etc. Capacity planning. So we encourage performing the capacity planning, from a weekly, fortnightly, and all the way up to a quarterly or yearly, because we try to build on from that point, because we're able to identify what kind of volumes we're dealing with, and we're able to scale up more quickly and in time. One of the other most important action items or agenda for the management operations meeting that gets together on a weekly or fortnightly is the change management meeting or the release management meeting. This is where the factory manager is able to review the current items on the release train with his inputs from the business on the priorities in the short term to medium term. Is able to plan the release and perform the necessary change management functions as well. And finally, the escalation management. So in case there's any escalations from any of the teams or the business users, because the amount of coordination, stakeholder management that gets into as part of running the factory, escalation management is one part of one item on the agenda as well. Steering committee. We normally have a steering committee meeting on a monthly basis. This is given by the factory director, and in most of the cases, the factory director is more often than not, he's a client manager. He's a client. He's one of the directors, or the whole organization in charge for the whole reporting organization. And the factory manager presents to him the performance of the factory on a monthly basis, and he provides his demand and capacity management that he's collated over the month, and the escalations that have happened over the last 1 month, what kind of resolutions he has performed, and if there are anything open, what are the action items for the open escalations. And in coordination with the factory director, the factory manager plans implementing any strategic actions, be it scaling up, or be it introducing new processes, or changing processes, introducing new tools as part of development or testing, or any strategic implementations that are being discussed. The planning and implementing that is essentially one of the agenda items for this particular meeting. And the executive committee meeting, which normally we recommend on a quarterly basis. The factory director again here is running the meeting, presenting the overall factory status to the executives on a quarterly basis, reviewing the performance of the overall factory, presenting the current strategy of the factory, the reporting factory, the current budget, and this is where, you know, all the work that we do on a weekly or fortnightly basis, the capacity plotting, the escalation management, etc., folds in, wherein we are able to present a unified budget view for the executives on a medium-term to long-term basis. One of the other important aspects we spoke about, you know, as part of the factory or the reporting service implementation is the KPIs. So in Nous, we normally set up and continue to follow Six Sigma processes for continuous improvement. So as part of Six Sigma, we initially identify the KPIs, set the KPIs, measure them, set the baselines, you know, and set some realistic targets. And with the current process, we identify what are the bottlenecks, plan the improvements, implement the improvements, and track it over a period of time, measure it, and then again, you know, the cycle continues, wherein we again come back, identify the bottlenecks, if any remediation actions from that, we plan the improvements, and the cycle continues. So as part of the KPIs, we broadly classify them into three types, you know, and the names are there out in both the agile world and the traditional world. So the schedule or the velocity per se, wherein we're tracking the cycle times and the lead time of the you know, of reports on average cycle time, average lead time of a report over a period of a month. So all the KPIs are tracked or measured over a period of a month. For the quality or the technical debt, we track the amount of defects that have escaped to UAT and the amount and the number of defects that have escaped to production. So this is these two have been good enough in our experience to track and, you know, identify quality improvements as well. And one other most important KPI that we track as part of the reporting service is the effort deviation from the estimation. This is very important in the sense that we are able to set you know, realistic timelines. One part is we're able to set realistic timelines to the business on, you know, what kind of how long it may take us to deliver a particular report, and at the same time we're able to also do some capacity planning, because this basically gives us the velocity at you know, at a high level that we're tracking in the velocity, as well as comparing it with the estimation. So we're able to identify in case we have any issues during estimation, are we not tracking enough you know, parameters for our estimations, etc. So these three kind of KPIs is you know, quite exhaustive in what we've implemented in most of our client sites, and many times we use combination of them, if not necessarily all of them. So the Nous BI Factory Accelerator, you know, what does Nous you know, do in terms of value add? Where does it stand out? So Nous has you know, a specialized delivery and project management team with good experience into BI development, BI delivery. Our program managers, delivery managers come with you know, experience of implementing and running factories in large organizations and scaling up teams as well. You know, the factory model that has been implemented in most of the clients have started off with a small team and then build on to a bigger team, given the volume, given the success of the reporting organization itself. Specialized business analysts, you know, who come with experience setting up or, you know, working in reporting factories in specific domain areas, be it finance, be it insurance, financial services, insurance, or retail, banking, healthcare, etc., etc. The developers and testers, again, we look at specialized skills in terms of tools. So we have specialized developers trained and experienced in specialized tools or combination of tools, ClickView, SAP, SAPO, Tableau, Power BI, quite a few of them. And Nous has implemented a reporting factory in multiple tools as well, as in a reporting factory at a particular client, at one of our particular clients in the US. The client was keen on implementing the reporting service with at least 2 of the reporting tools to be able to leverage the different advantages of the different tools. The process framework, the process accelerator is is another part of it, where another part of the BI factory accelerator, with the experience and expertise of implementing the reporting factory in multiple client sites. The process frameworks that have been developed are, there are specific process frameworks for specific domains in certain cases, and it's level maturity in most of the cases that we identify after performing the due diligence, given the maturity of the processes in the client organization, the budget that is allocated in most of the cases. In most of the cases, we try to identify what are the key improvement areas after doing a due diligence of their existing setup, and then identify the necessary process changes from using our process accelerator, the different templates we have. And what this actually helps us to do is, over a period of time, because it's been implemented in many client sites, it has proven to help reduce the bureaucracy a lot of times, and it also helps us to reduce the cycle times, and at the same time helps us to scale up pretty quickly. So what helps the process accelerator is the templates accelerator, because we have a standardized template library of all the documents that are required, or normally churned out of a reporting factory. And again, depending on the level of maturity of the organization that the reporting factory is being implemented at, what are the key issues at that particular client site, and what are we trying to tackle. We try to identify, starting off, to make sure that the process is acceptable by one and all. The transition is more smoother, and once we get into a more steady state, we start improving the quality of documentation as well, given the experience of the many implementations we've had, and being able to deliver more quality documentation along with quality reporting. And where it helps us at the end is, being more agile and being lean, being able to deliver the necessary documents at the necessary quality level as well. Here is one case study from one of the reporting as a service implementations we did at a large bank in the US. They had typical reporting, issues, reporting environment issues. A lot of business units, they had their own specific teams. They used their own set of tools, because the people who started those teams came with certain experience in certain tools and had their own set of processes that they started off with. What this led to over a period of time is that the delivery timelines across the organization was totally different, inconsistent. So a team A was delivering a report in 2 weeks, a team B was delivering it in 3 weeks or 5 weeks, and there was no real logic to that, or predictability into it. And what this also meant is the teams were under a lot of pressure because the business users were basically looking at the inconsistent delivery timelines, and eventually it led to the delivery quality issues started dropping in quite a few teams because they were under a lot of pressure. So now it's gotten and assess the current state and proposed and implemented the future state. And in this particular engagement, we identified that processes were one place where we had to start off with. So we discussed with all the existing stakeholders, identified what kind of processes were followed, and tried to bring in a unified process, a standardized process across the organization, which was accepted by all the stakeholders. And over a period of time, it was more repeatable. And one of the things that we were able to achieve, of course, cooperation, and one of the requirements from the client as well was to standardize the tool as well for the reporting. So this gave us a lot of opportunity to help them reduce the cost as well as build some reusable components over a period of time. Eventually, as it happened for this particular customer, they had a huge change come in, and they had to scale up pretty quickly for a particular reporting delivery, and we were able to scale up the assembly lines because we had all the KPIs that we were tracking on a monthly basis. We knew which teams had to be scaled up how many times, 3x, 4x, 5x, for the volume that we were foreseeing in the medium to long term. So we were able to scale up pretty quickly as well. And over a period of 1.5 years is, when we reviewed the whole engagement, we were able to achieve a quality improvement of about 40%. So compared to the previous deliveries before the reporting as a service implementation and after the reporting as a service implementation, the quality improved by about 40%. The schedule and costs came down by about 30%. So this was one of the most successful, if I can call it, implementations in the recent times for Nous. Okay, so here I pass it on to my colleague Ranjit. Ranjit, over to you.
Hey, thanks a lot, Srikanth. That was a very informative session on your part on the benefits of leveraging reporting as a service. And now I would like to provide a brief introduction of Nous Infosystems, the company. Nous Infosystems is a CMMI Level 5 ISO certified global information technology firm providing software solutions and services across a broad spectrum of industries and domains. We have about 2 decades of experience in the industry, working with enterprises and independent software vendors alike. We have 1,000+ talented technology consultants with the ability to work across a variety of engagement models. 350+ satisfied customers can testify to our expertise. We have established certain centers of competence or centers of excellence at Nous for various disruptive technologies such as enterprise mobility, big data, BI, reporting and analytics, social engagement and analytics, digital transformation, DevOps and cloud computing. So what it really does for the client is able to leverage efficiencies that we have been able to accrue over a period of time, able to consolidate our expertise under one roof for each of these technologies, and this will ultimately deliver a competitive advantage to clients in the market. So at this point in time, I guess we can take some questions from the audience. As I had mentioned before, the audience could type the questions on the GoToWebinar panel. So let me start off with a few questions that have been mentioned so far by the audience. The first one would be, when should an organization opt for reporting as a service, Srikanth?
Okay, so that's a good question. When should an organization opt for it? So pretty much, immediately, I would say, because the amount of data that's coming in, being captured by most of the enterprises, most of the companies is huge. The processing capabilities has to increase quite a bit. The organizations are mostly now attuned to, the reports to take a very knowledgeable decision on most of the improvement areas for the businesses, etc. So for starters, it would be to identify in case you have any of those challenges that we spoke about initially. Large inconsistent delivery timelines, not able to scale up quickly, not auditable documentation, different tools. That's one big starter, I would say, in case if an organization is using multiple tools across the organization. That's probably one of the big cases to take up a reporting factory. There are quite a few parameters that you can consider, but I think most of the times where it gets down to is the cost advantage, the unit cost of a report, how much is it now, what are the volumes that we're looking at in the near term, and how much are we spending on the reporting, and what is the ROI that we get, should we scale up. So those kind of thoughts actually are the initiations into a reporting factory or reporting service.
Okay, thanks a lot, Srikanth. So moving on to the next question, we have someone asking, what are all the reporting tools Nous has set up for a reporting factory?
Okay, so Nous has set up reporting factories in SSRS, to start off with, ClickView, Tableau, WebFocus. One of the customers, had WebFocus and they wanted to continue with WebFocus. So that was one part of it. And Power BI is one of the upcoming tools for visualization. So we had one recent customer, where we implemented even Power BI with its current capabilities. In addition to that, as Ranjit was mentioning, we have a separate BI analytics center of excellence, center of competency, which is always, in tune with the current market trends, identifying what kind of tools are coming into the market, and in case we've got to build up competencies, we are always there. We are investing on our resources for training and identifying, stars who can join us, who can help us also train as well as scale up.
Okay, great. So I hope that answered the question from the audience. Moving on to the next question we have here, what would be the size of the assembly line in a reporting factory, Srikanth?
Well, that's a good question, I should say. So to start off with, we normally start off with 2 to 3 people in each and every assembly line. We have a couple of people, business analysts to start off with, doing business analysis, business requirements gathering, and a couple of people in the design assembly. The development assembly is where, it's almost like stacked 1:2 compared to the design. So maybe 4 developers and, 2 testers. So that's normally how we start off a reporting factory, because in most of the cases that we've implemented, the volumes of the reporting factory is not very much known. So it's kind of, like touching water. We're trying to see what's best to start off with, and as we understand, we normally scale up depending on the volume or the need.
Okay, great. Okay, I think we can take one last question, Srikanth, and that would be how much improvement has Nous seen across the KPIs?
Okay, specifically KPIs, that's a good one. Okay, we will take that same example of the implementation of reporting as a service in one of the large US banks. We were, at the broad sense, what we presented was we were able to achieve a quality improvement of about 40% and schedule and cost improvements of about 30%. So on the KPIs itself, the lead times and cycle times. Cycle times we were able to achieve improvements of almost like 10 to 15% year on year. The lead times of about 10 to 12%, that was already very good. We were able to reduce a lot of technical debt because we were able to build good quality with reusable components. And effort deviation from effort estimation, that was one big KPI that we were able to bring down, because when we started off the factory, we had an effort deviation of almost like 30-40%, and year on year, when we reviewed it, we was down by, the deviation was down to almost like about 3% or 4%. So that was one huge achievement there as well.
Okay, so that's all the time we have for the moment. I don't see any further questions coming in as well. So I would like to thank you all for having taken the time to attend this webinar. So as promised earlier, we'll be sharing a copy of the webinar deck and the recording after the webinar to the attendees. So do watch out for that. So I hope you found the webinar useful and interesting. So from myself and my colleague Srikanth, we would like to wish you a good day. Thank you and bye-bye.